With the huge success of the Joker movie, today we're going to discuss some DC characters that deserve the Joker treatment, otherwise known as the DC Black movies, and see if WB takes some notes, and hopefully they will, because I think a lot of people will want these characters to get their own movies and hopefully get the same treatment as Joker. Now, if you don't know what DC Black is, or DC Black Label Project is, essentially what that means is it's a solo movie in most, if not all cases. It's for more mature audiences, and it's not like it can't be not mature, but it tends to be more mature. So, and just be focused on one character. And I also think if it's going to get the Joker treatment, that should also mean that it should be a low budget like Joker. So, of course, with that, let's go ahead and get into some DC characters that deserve the Joker treatment. And these characters should get their own DC Black movies. Now, first up, we have the most obvious choice in the character that a lot of people want to see get his own movie, and that is, of course, Red Hood. Now, I should also state that for these DC Black movies, they don't all have to be villain stories. Okay, now I'm not here to say Red Hood is a saint, because he's not. He's more of an anti-hero, but I should also point that out, that not all of these are going to be villains, but most of them will be. So, of course, first up, and the most obvious one to me, and I think, frankly, everyone, is Red Hood or Jason Todd. Because I do believe that Jason Todd, aka Red Hood, that could be a very powerful movie. And you know how Joker focuses on powerful messages and stuff like that. So I feel like this movie could focus on being replaced really easily, and basically felt like you were left behind and replaced easy. And I haven't read that many comics with the Red Hood, but I've seen the animated movie Under the Red Hood. And maybe it could focus on opioids too, especially when it's getting sold to children. That could be a huge thing, because Red Hood is against that. So I feel like that could be a huge thing. I do feel like this could be a really good movie, because this could be a vigilante type movie about him taking down the crime bosses and stopping all these drug deals and stuff, and maybe getting revenge about feeling like he got betrayed and replaced so quickly. Now, what I mean by that is, of course, if you don't know, Jason Todd is the second Robin, and then Tim Drake is the third Robin. So maybe shortly after he comes back, he already sees that Batman replaced him for this new Robin, and then that could be very upsetting, which I think it would be for most people to know that you got replaced that quickly, and basically feeling like you weren't worth anything. So I feel like that could be the powerful message in this movie. Like I said, vigilante justice, I guess, and it could be violent. I mean, he could basically be DC's John Wick. I could see that being the case with this. But I mean, other than that, I don't know. I don't know when it would take place and all this other stuff. And I also don't have a dream casting, okay? Because for some of these, I'll probably do like a dream casting. But for Red Hood, I honestly don't know. So if you have an idea who could play Red Hood, make sure to let me know, okay? As of right now, I don't have anyone, but make sure to let me know, and then I could look these people up and be like, you know what? I can agree with that. But I do feel like Red Hood definitely deserves his own movie, okay? And that's another thing, is I feel like a lot of these characters on this list are kind of Batman villains or characters. I tried not to do so many Batman characters, but you're going to see kind of a lot of them. So Red Hood is the first one, and I think, frankly, is the best choice for WB to do, because it's a simple character. Well, maybe not simple, he can be complex, but it can be very grounded, just like Joker, but it can be like really violent with the gun violence and stuff like that. So, of course, that is my first and most obvious choice on which DC character should get their own DC Black movie. And another popular character getting their name thrown out there is Scarecrow, yet another Batman character. As I mentioned, most of these are going to be Batman characters, so here's yet another one with Jonathan Crane, aka Scarecrow. And I can already tell you right now that my dream casting, because I can't really think of anyone else, so as of right now, my dream casting would be Jackie Earle Haley, which, of course, he previously was in a DC movie with Watchmen, famously as Rorschach. And then, he played Freddy Krueger himself. Whether you liked it or not, he did play Freddy Krueger in Friday the 13th, wow. Nightmare on Elm Street, sorry. Get those horror movies mixed up. So, hey, he's basically played the same characters. So, now, I feel like this movie could focus on child abuse. Okay, because I feel like it could focus on him as a child, with his father being abusive towards him and trying to teach him not to fear things. And every time he does get afraid of something, basically his father snaps and, hits him or whatever. And I feel like that could be the message of this movie. And basically he gets to the point, Kind of like in Joker, where he just gets to the point where he just snaps, essentially. And basically he's like, okay, what I was treated as, or how I was treated when I was younger or before, okay, I'm tired of it. It's time that I do this to other people, right? So I feel like that could be the main message with this movie. Now, obviously, Scarecrow has appeared in other movies before. He's only appeared in one other major movie, and that is, of course, Batman Begins. He did appear very briefly in the other two Dark Knight movies, but mainly just in Batman Begins. To me, that's not the Scarecrow I want, okay? I want the Scarecrow that is very disturbing and creepy and all of that stuff, and I want there to be some very scary visuals when people are under his fear toxin. If he would look like how he does essentially like in Arkham Knight, that would make me very happy, because I loved how he looked in Arkham Knight. I kind of don't want the bag face type of deal going on where he just puts the bag over his face, basically. Kind of like he did in Batman Begins. I really don't want that to happen, but I feel like Scarecrow could be a really good villain, because if DC wants to go even the more violent or horror route, Scarecrow would be your best bet, okay? It's not really a popular character, unless you're a Batman fan. If you're a Batman fan, then yes, he's popular. But outside of the Batman lore, he's not really a huge character. So, but yeah, if DC or Warner Brothers were to go the horror route with some of these characters, Scarecrow is definitely one of your best choices. Okay? I don't know how the whole plot would go, but like I said, I could see it dealing with like child abuse and all this other stuff and fear and all that, obviously. But other than that, I can't really think about what the plot would be. I have no clue, honestly, but I do feel like this could be another character that could get that treatment. I think it could be really good. And once again, it could be low budget, because, I mean, the only time you might need some money is for when he's using his fear toxin, and then you want to get some scary visuals. That might be the only time you really need some money. Other than that, you can just keep it as grounded as you want, honestly. So, of course, Scarecrow is yet another person that I believe could be a great fit for a DC Black movie. And now we have the last Batman character in my list, and that is Mr. Freeze. And obviously this can be a movie that is not dark or disturbing, but it can still be a very grounded movie. Now, of course, Mr. Freeze is not one of the more popular Batman villains, right? But regardless, he does have probably the most emotional backstory, and I know it's been done over and over again, but I think it is due for a live-action debut, right? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's called Heart of Ice or whatever. It's something like that. And if you don't know the story, essentially it's him working at Gotham Corporate Labs, something like that. And he learns that his wife has this disease and he doesn't have much time. So in order to prevent it or have more time to try to find a cure, he develops this cryo chamber to put her in so that she basically freezes in time, essentially. So that it gives him more time to try to help his wife, but then the boss, Ferris Boyle, comes in and says, no, you can't do this. There's no funding for this. And so since there's no funding anymore and he can't get the supplies that he wants, he has to turn to the life of crime to get the supplies that he needs to try to help his wife. And that could essentially be the message of the movie, is basically the lengths that people are willing to go to protect and save their loved ones, okay? So this would not be a dark or disturbing movie at all. It wouldn't, okay? This would just be a very emotional story about a guy who's willing to turn to a life of crime to save someone that he loves, and basically the only person that he's ever loved. I mean, because as far as I know, I don't think Mr. Freeze really has any family, so, or at least that he likes. So, of course, his wife, Nora, is the only person he really has, and of course, he's not going to want to lose her, so he's willing to do anything. So, it's a very tragic story, and of course, he'll turn to the life of crime and he's able to save his wife, Nora. So, a dream casting for this, I honestly have no clue, okay? I really don't. I mean, yeah, we don't want Arnold Schwarzenegger back, right? But, I mean, in all honesty, he wasn't that bad. It's just the puns that were really annoying. But, no, we don't want him back. I would like a very dramatic actor, someone that, you know, once they're on the screen, it can feel like they're getting to you, like it makes you want to tear up, right? Someone who's very emotional, gets really into it, and so that you can feel for them, right? And so basically that's what this movie can be about, is like the struggle of a man who's trying to save someone he loves, and he has to turn to the life of crime in order to save his wife. And I honestly feel like maybe at the end of the movie there could be like a cliffhanger or something where it doesn't show you whether he actually saves his wife or not. I feel like it should be another one of those movies like Joker where the ending's up for interpretation of whether or not he actually saved his wife or not. I don't know what kind of cliffhanger would do that, but I think that would be really cool. And I feel like visually it could be a really cool movie, given that Mr. Freeze does a lot with ice. So there could be a lot of like ice and snow effects and stuff like that. I feel like that could be very visually stunning, especially with the snow and all that. So I feel like that could be a very powerful movie. I do feel like this is a Batman villain that is due for a big screen debut. Well, not a debut, but a big screen appearance again, because you can say whatever you want about Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? But he clearly wasn't the Mr. Freeze that everyone wants. Okay? And essentially, if you don't know what the story is, I highly suggest you watch the Batman the Animated Series episode, Heart of Ice, because it is one of the best, if not the best, episodes of Batman the Animated Series. It's a very powerful story, and I couldn't imagine what they could do with like a 2-hour movie, right? I don't even know if it would need to be 2 hours. It could maybe even just be an hour and a half. I don't know. But typically, these movies are longer than that. So that's yet another character that I believe could get one of these movies. I think it could be a very powerful one. And out of all the ones I have on this list, I feel like his would be the most emotional. So Mr. Freeze is definitely a character that I believe does deserve another big screen appearance. Whether or not we get that, I highly doubt it, but it's up in the air, okay? I like putting that idea out there because it can be a very emotional story. And now that we are done with the Batman characters that I have on my list, time to get to some other characters. And this is one of the other characters or villains that I think should get their own movie, and that is, of course, Lex Luthor. Now, in my honest opinion, I've never cared for Lex Luthor. So I bet you're wondering, and once I say that, I bet you're wondering, okay, well, why do I have him on this list, okay? Because although I personally don't care for him, I do realize he is a very important Superman villain. And he has the ability to have a very, very grounded movie and dealing with business and stuff like that. You know, not the super theatrics or anything like that, just basically his rise through the business world and getting to where he wants to be one of the most smartest man on the planet and have the most money and all this other stuff. So clearly this would take place before Superman, and I could see, honestly, like the ending of the movie with the announcement that Superman is real. And then that's when he gets the idea, okay, I don't want someone like this in the world, right? So, like I said, personally, I don't care for Lex Luthor, but I get that there are a lot of people that do like Lex Luthor, and I could see him having his own movie. Now, dream casting, this is my dream casting too, and I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people out there that have the same dream casting, and that is, of course, Bryan Cranston. I feel like Bryan Cranston could be really good as Lex Luthor, because I bet nobody wants Jesse Eisenberg back, right? So I think Bryan Cranston could do a really good job. If you don't know who that is, and I mean, I don't know how you wouldn't know who that is, he's most famously known for Breaking Bad, which, I mean, essentially it could be like the same type of story about how he kind of gets darker and darker along the way and realizes he has to make certain sacrifices in order for the business to succeed and stuff like that. So it could essentially be along the same lines. I mean, it's not going to be drug related, obviously, but you know, it might be about Lex learning that he has to make certain sacrifices for him in his business to succeed and make more money, even if it's illegal stuff, but as long as he keeps it quiet, it won't matter. So I could see that being this movie about him rising through the ranks and becoming one of the more powerful people on the planet, and how he's helping Metropolis and all this other stuff. And then, as I mentioned, maybe at the end of the movie, it says on the news that Superman's real and superheroes exist and stuff like that. Maybe that's his motivation, that, okay, we don't want superpowered people like this because they could have the ability to destroy our world and all of this other stuff. So, as I mentioned for about the billionth time, and I sound like a broken record, like I said, I don't prefer Lex Luthor, but I know there is a huge fan base out there for him because he is one of the most famous, if not the most famous, Superman villain. So, I mean, out of all the Superman villains, I feel like he would have the best option, right? Because if not him, it'd be like either like Zod or Doomsday, people like that. I don't see them getting their own movie. Lex Luthor probably has the best chance. As I mentioned, Bryan Cranston is probably the best choice to play Lex Luthor, but I bet there's plenty of other guys that can play a great Lex Luthor too. But as for me and for a couple of people, I think Bryan Cranston's the best choice. And like I said, it could be his rise through the business world and making those sacrifices in order for his business to succeed, whether it's legal or illegal. So it could be a very powerful movie about that. Super grounded. You're not going to need like any CGI really like at all, except if you do show like Superman, for example. But yeah, like very, very grounded. I think out of all these, this would probably be the most grounded movie. So Lex Luthor is definitely one that I think could get his own DC Black movie. Do I see it happening? No. But I think if a Superman villain were to get their own movie, Lex Luthor has the best shot at it. Now, the last person I have on my list is Constantine. Now, out of all the characters that I've put on this list, this would obviously be the one that would probably require the biggest budget out of all of them. I'm not saying it would have to be a high budget. I'm just saying out of all of these, this one would have the highest budget out of all these characters, because Constantine, as everyone knows, is a very popular character for like the magical characters, sorcerers, and stuff like that, dealing with demons. So of course you would have to require some effects with demons and all this other stuff. Now, when it comes to Constantine, I know there's a lot of people that say that Matt Ryan is Constantine, right? Which I've seen a little bit of the TV show, which, yeah, I can agree, right? But here's the thing. I highly doubt that they would hire him to play a big blockbuster Constantine. I just don't see that happening. You can say he's the greatest Constantine ever, or that he is Constantine, right? But I really don't see that happening, okay? I think there were rumors that WB was looking to get Keanu Reeves back to play Constantine. I don't know if that's true or not. Like I said, rumors. But I have not seen that movie, so I don't know if Keanu Reeves is good or not. But I haven't heard good things about the Constantine movie. But I think Constantine is a character that really needs a solo movie, okay? I feel like he could be a changing point or whatever you want to say for DC, because they haven't really gone that route yet about magical sorcerers and stuff like that. And it could be a very dark movie and a very violent movie, because like I think they turned it into an animated movie, but it was like Constantine City of Demons or something like that, or City of Blood, something like that. It was on CW Seed. And it's like, yeah, that was pretty violent for animation, right? And it's like you could get into some really dark things and really powerful messages, of course, because Constantine, he's basically an alcoholic, so you can involve that. He smokes a lot. And there could be a lot of language, because I guarantee you he would probably cuss a lot. So that is probably the last major character that I could think of deserves their own DC Black movie. I think it could work out really well. Like I said, out of all of these, it would require the biggest budget, most likely. Do I see it happening in the future? I see the possibility. I think they could do it. Out of all of these, I think, honestly, he probably has the best shot out of all the characters that I've listed. I just think it's going to take a little while. Like I said, it could be a changing point for DC, because they haven't really gone that route about like super violent, supernatural type of stuff like that with their big budget movies. And so I feel like Constantine would be the best choice. Now, like I said, I doubt they're going to get Matt Ryan, okay? I doubt they're going to get Keanu Reeves, and I cannot think of a dream casting for Constantine. So, but as I mentioned, I could see this movie being a hard R, honestly. I could see it being very bloody, very violent, lots of cussing, and lots of terrifying imagery and like stuff like that, right? So, out of all the characters that I've listed, I feel like he has the best shot at getting his own movie. Do I think it's going to happen soon? I would say way sooner than all the other characters that I listed, okay? So that concludes my list of like the 5 characters that I believe deserve the Joker treatment and should get their own DC Black movie. Now, I will mention that I did think about other characters. So some honorable mentions would be Deathstroke. I could see him getting his own movie, and he's a really awesome character. I could also see another Batman villain, the Riddler, getting his own movie. But obviously you wouldn't call it Riddler. You'd probably call it Enigma. And I could see that being like a cat and mouse type of movie, and maybe it's like when Gordon first starts in the GCPD, and he's one of the main characters, and maybe they're trying to track down Enigma. So I could see that being a really cool cat and mouse type of movie, and basically he's kind of like Jigsaw, I guess, because if you played Arkham City, I could see him being kind of like that. But I don't know. So as I mentioned, these are the 5 DC characters, the major DC characters that I could see getting their own DC Black movies, or at least deserve their own DC Black movies. So of course, do you agree with this list? Which DC characters do you believe should get their own DC Black movies? Make sure to put it down in the comments below. And of course, as always, I'd love to see you all next time.
For